All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Autism Spa, sponsored by the Autism Innovation Lab. I'm your host, Shahriar Afshar. I'm here today with Taiba Bajar, another autism expert, all the way from London, joining us. I've seen what she's done. She wrote a book. She's a TEDx talker. She's an autism expert, and I really wanted to have her perspective on her book and her thesis to share with you all and ask some questions about how obviously we can better serve this community. So welcome all the way from London. I know we're about 8 hours, 7 hours apart, but tell
Yes,
us a little bit about yourself and what got you into the autism ecosystem, and we'll go from
sure.
there.
Hi, Sharia. Thank you for having me on. So, what got me into understanding autism a lot more was it all started for my son. So, like you said before we started recording, it's always personal for everyone who's in the autism advocacy space. It's always personal. So, my son was born like without any concerns, like everything was fine. And he was, speaking words. He started walking early. Everything was developing normally. We didn't have any concerns until he hit 20 months old. And when he was 20 months old, it was actually March 2020, around the same time as well. And then he had, which was the pandemic, start of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. And in that month, we noticed that he suddenly lost all his skills. So within about 4 or 5 weeks, he had words and then he lost them. He was, he was sleeping well. Like he slept really well as a baby, he slept well the entire time, and now he's staying up the entire night, completely hyperactive and not even seeming tired the next day.
How old was he at this point?
20 months.
20
So
months.
he
Wow,
he was
super
just
young.
under two.
Right.
Yeah, super young. But the weird and crazy thing was he didn't have any of this before. So there was no warning signs of
Mm.
autism. Like he had great eye contact. He had understanding of language. He would eat 3 meals a day and feed himself. And then all of a sudden all of that changed. And then he went from to being a really picky eater and started only eating one meal, no, one bite of food every other day. Just,
Wow.
yeah, I know. He got really skinny, kept losing, like dropping weight percentiles.
Oh no.
Nothing helped actually. It was really awful at the time. Um, and then I have two sisters who are teachers, and they said that this is a sign of autism. If you have skills and then you lose them, that's a clear sign of autism. So early intervention is really important. You need to go to the GP.
Right.
So, here in the UK, I went to the GP, and the GP said yes. She basically just agreed, like, yeah, he does have autism, but when I kept asking, like, how does he have it? Like, what happened? Like, he wasn't like this before. What caused this? The only explanation I got was it's genetic, and he always had it, and but he just started showing symptoms later.
Uh,
But autism
ouch.
in general, yeah, and
Yeah.
autism in general is diagnosed based on a series of behaviors. So if you're nonverbal, no
Right.
understanding of language,
Right.
you start stimming, poor
Right.
sleep, all of the common symptoms, yeah, tick, 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 yeah, you're on the autism spectrum. He didn't have any of that before.
Right.
So the way the doctor said so confidently, yep, it's
Right.
genetic and he always had it,
Right.
for me, it just seemed like kind of can't really be true. She
Right.
completely dismissed what I
Yeah.
saw in him, which was happy, laughy, like
Right.
social child developing normally to that dramatic
Right.
change. It
Can
was
I
saying to me,
can I
yeah,
just
go for
stop
it.
you there
Yeah.
and say uh, that's very common,
I
and
know
it
it's
happened
sad,
to me.
heartbreaking. Oh,
I know
really?
on three levels. I'm not going to stop your story, but
Mm,
my son regressed as well. He was
mm.
going kind of normally up to 12 to 18 months, and then eye contact. He was doing everything, and then suddenly there was a regression, which was
Yeah.
really hard to watch because
Yeah, it
I
is.
kind of feel
Yeah.
like it's like youth dementia. It was like it's not like you're watching someone in their 80s lose cognition and memory and
Yeah.
go back. It's someone that never had a life yet
Yeah.
to slip away from your fingers. It was really hard to watch as a parent, and I feel for you
Yeah.
as I had the same experience. And unfortunately, the pediatrician, which
Mm.
is sounds like that we both
Yeah.
went to the same person, maybe, they were equally dismissive that
Yeah.
it was nothing, no big deal. Ah, he's not. I mean, he just whether they just misdiagnose immediately and
Mm.
set vulnerable, desperate, overwhelmed parents on a path that could have been avoided. So I think everyone listening probably has a similar experience that you and I did, but I don't want
Yeah.
to stop your story. So tell me what happens.
Yeah, it's okay. So, yeah, what I've also found that with the more parents I speak to, the more stories of regression I hear. But whenever, whenever I told my story to the preschool teacher or to the teacher or to friends and family, and then they looked at my son how he was, I would just feel gaslit.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, come on. Like you must be misremembering or you must, just be exaggerating. Like he can't possibly have ever spoken words or possibly
right,
have ever
right,
fed himself. If you look at him and he's stimming and he's wetting himself and he's so anxious, like yeah, come on, you're just exaggerating. And
right.
it wasn't, I just felt so gaslit.
Yeah,
But the more parents I speak to, and I think the statistic is like about 1 in 3, like just over 1 in 3 parents of autism, sorry, children of autism would have had a regression
yeah,
in social skills and other skills as well. But I feel like as a community, we are not spoken about enough.
right,
So,
right,
so we're just like gaslit. But so anyway, that drove me down to a path of thinking, okay, something I believe something had changed in his environment, which caused this autism symptoms to appear and for this regression to happen, this sudden regression. It can't purely just be genetics. So otherwise he'd be born like this. He would have been born with no eye contact. Something changed in his environment. So I have a degree in dentistry from the University of Bristol. So, and while I was there, I won the clinical research prize in my year for my independent research. So, so when I felt like I wasn't really getting the help that was going to change my son's life and, really maximize that early years intervention and really answer the question properly about what happened that caused this regression, that led me down a path of looking into what what are the environmental factors which can worsen autism symptoms. So that's when I learned about gut health, learned about heavy metals, I learned about smaller cerebellum, I learned about, methylation and folinic acid. Basically, I learned about all of that. I started doing things to help my son. He improved a lot. After he started improving a lot, people around me started asking me loads of questions about autism to help their children. And then that turned into me writing a book and then the business Autism Brain Empowerment. So the purpose of Autism Brain Empowerment is to guide parents on that 7-step autism action plan, which is all detailed in my book, Unlock Autism as well. So it's things that you so I feel like they've as a parent, you are so desperate to help your own child and you do anything to try and help them. But we're just like, at least in the UK, you're told, oh, you need to go here for speech and language therapy. You need to go here for occupational therapy. Oh, you need to go here for to do this. And I feel like the biggest impact on a child's life is what the parents do at home.
right,
Like, and so that's kind of led me on this whole mission,
right.
really.
So thank you so much for landing exactly where I always land, which is um, I always tell parents, look, take care of yourself, take care of
Yeah,
the home, take care of your kid. There's nothing more important than the family unit for
yeah,
your loved one. All the other doctors and experts around you is great. Good,
mm,
good. If some ABA works for some people, it doesn't work for others. Some
yeah,
other, gluten-free diets work for some people. It won't work for everyone.
yeah,
Whatever you need to do outside of that, God bless you. Try it, but take care of yourself. As kids pick up stress and strain
yeah. I
on
agree.
typical families,
Yeah,
believe me, autism kids have a superpower to
of
sponge up
sensitivity.
much
Yeah,
more than
I
I
agree
feel
with
like
that. They're very
neurotypical
sensitive.
people are distracted by all the noise in the world, but autistic people, at whatever their level, one, two, three, verbal, nonverbal, they have the superpower of being able to absorb the energy of you,
Yeah, I agree with that.
especially as a parent or a loved one, and they're just able to pick it up. So I always tell people, take care of yourself,
Yeah.
project that positive energy. I mean, I'm not a spiritual person per se, but you cannot deny it. When my son, sometimes when I'm driving and I'm angry at the road and then somebody's cutting in front of me, my autistic son who can't speak leans over and holds my hand because he because
Oh,
he
Trying to
he
calm me
sees me
down.
upset and
Yeah,
he's trying to calm me down, you
yeah.
know? So I just feel like all of these kids are there wherever their level of cognition or abilities are. We
Mm.
just don't give them enough credit to be able to understand the environment that they're living in. But with that, tell me about your book and those 7 steps. What are the one, what, can you run us really quickly through them?
Yeah, sure. So it's basically exactly what I did to help my own child start achieving his milestones, and then what I help parents start doing on the program as well, so that they can start achieving their milestones. So running really briefly through it, it's all based on like what I call like the environmental symptoms that worsen, like the environmental factors that worsen autism symptoms. So what my TEDx talk calls autism dimmer switches. So factors that can increase or decrease the severity of your symptoms. So, step one is optimize oxytocin. So, oxytocin is a very powerful hormone in all of our bodies. And there's a lot of research to show that children of autism have a lower level of oxytocin in their bodies compared to neurotypical individuals. So step one is all about how to boost the natural levels of oxytocin in their bodies so that they can also benefit from the benefits of oxytocin, which is, better social skills, better social memory, better eye contact, all of less, decreased anxiety, less, better. Like a lot of times, children with autism will have a high pain threshold. Oxytocin can also help manage that.
Mm.
So, so there are a lot of benefits in boosting oxytocin.
Right, right.
Step two is break down blood. So there are certain biomarkers in the blood which can increase or decrease the severity of your autism symptoms. For example, omega-3 index is quite a common one. Everyone knows about that one. So children with autism are more likely to have an omega-3 index level of between 1 to 3%. And people and children with ADHD as well. Quite a low omega-3 index, whereas omega-3 index should be between 8 to 12%. And if you are able to measure that and then you boost it, you can improve the child's concentration skills, their focus. Omega-3 is also very anti-inflammatory, so it will help have like a good effect across the whole body as well. So there's lots of different factors like that, which are all identified in step two, break down blood. Step three is grasp the gut brain bond. And that recognizes the fact that about 1 in 2 children with autism will have gut health symptoms. So they'll either have like chronic constipation, like runny poos, diarrhea, reflux, even like flatulence and gas pain, all of that stuff. And it's quite widely recognized that children with autism are more likely to have a distinctive gut microbiome pattern, and your gut will, it communicates with your brain all day long. So if your gut is unhealthy and it's leaky, it's, you've got chronic constipation or runny poos, if you can heal your gut and, you can start pooing a normal poo every single day, so you're taking waste out of your body, that whole system is working like normally, like functioning well, then again, you decrease the severity of symptoms autism. It can help a child start understanding language better. It can even help children start speaking words, start being calmer. So children with autism, about 1 in 2 of them will also have gut health symptoms. Step four is take down toxins. So it's the idea that children with autism are more likely to have a higher concentration of heavy metals inside of their body compared to neurotypical individuals. And those heavy metals are all came from our environment, but children with autism are more likely to have a more slower detoxification pathway. So what that means is as humans, our four main organs of detoxification are your gut, your liver, your kidneys, and your skin. And these four organs are not working as well for children of autism compared to neurotypical individuals. So the heavy metals and the toxins that we are all exposed to in our normal daily life, they are not being like they're not taken out of the body as well as neurotypical individuals. So they're more likely to have that build up. So step four again, focus on completely natural ways, um, just through food really, to get these heavy metals outside of the person's body. When we do this step, I often get parents report to me like their child is having like really disgusting and smelly poos just for that week where we do, but when they're ready to do that heavy metal gut or liver detox, and it's just all that disgusting stuff coming out of their bodies. And with the children I work with, the parents tell me, they calmer, they stop mouthing objects, they stop eloping, like that all happens less. All of these other things that come along with that. So, even stimming decreases, all of those other things. So that's all with take down toxins, step 4. Step 5 is solve with supplements. So the idea is that there are certain supplements that can, increase or decrease the severity of your child's autism symptoms. One of the most famous ones that like Donald Trump's been talking about is leucovorin, which is also known as folinic acid. There's quite a few in the step 5 solve with supplements, but leucovorin, he's been talking a lot about how children with autism are more likely to have a functional folate deficiency, because they're more likely to have that autoantibody, which blocks the folate receptors in their brain. So they're not able to absorb folate properly. So if you give them a different form of folate called folinic acid, or also known as leucovorin, they're able to absorb it, and children can start speaking, have better eye contact, start saying words, and other great results through certain supplements. So that's step 5. Step 6 is called charge to cerebellum. So it's the idea that children with autism or individuals with autism are more likely to have a smaller cerebellum at the back of their in their brain. So the cerebellum makes up 10% of the size of your brain, but it has up to 80% of the brain's connections within it. And children with autism are more likely to have a smaller one or a different shaped one. And that can mean what, and that overlaps with some other symptoms that parents might be seeing, like dyspraxia, like poor balance, maybe a bit clumsy. All of that is linked to the cerebellum as well. It's also linked to retained primitive reflexes. So children with autism are more likely to have retained primitive reflexes. So reflexes that should have gone away by 12 months, but if they are retained, it can also stunt natural development as well. And the last step is step 7, empower emotions. So it's the idea that individuals with autism, they can find it harder to have, like, make friends, have relationships, and they are more likely to have depression, anxiety and bipolar disorder. I think it's 4 times more likely to have depression compared to a neurotypical individual. And like twice as likely to have bipolar disorder, and again, more likely to have anxiety disorder as well, compared to neurotypical individuals. So to try and preempt that, to the best way to do that, like what I found through my program and how I try to help my own son, is to try and teach emotional intelligence to him so that he's able to have more awareness of his own emotions and awareness of other people's emotions. So he's able to build more social connections, which are so protective for physical health and mental health. So that's basically a run through of the 7 steps.
Wow, that's amazing. I think obviously I've heard various theses on all of those topics, right? From leucovorin to
Yeah,
heavy metals to
yeah,
cerebellum. That's always actually the toughest thing about autism parenting. There's so many
yeah,
choices. You don't really know which one's going to work. And by the way, a little disclaimer, nothing here should be construed as medical advice. I just
yeah,
want to say
absolutely.
that.
Yeah,
But these are all just a couple of parents talking, trying to figure out what
yeah,
find their way in the world. And from your experience, your background, these are the 7 different approaches that a parent can take to try out to see which one, because it could
yeah,
be that their kid, I mean, each one of these things may require its own testing in a medical center, but so they can tell you if you have a deficiency in one or two or three or all of these things. But none of these things are necessarily, harmful. They're just, either supplemental or they're existing
things you could do at home.
things,
It's
yeah, in
not
the
invasive.
body that you're simply
Yeah,
kind of trying to fit or expand on a deficiency, so it's better. It's all meant to try out to kind of see which one works. This is the
yeah.
toughest thing about parenting. You don't know which one's going to work. Yeah,
But I feel like that about that could, so I think with autism, it's like it's the stakes are higher, and you're
right,
just trying to, because your child's kind of almost like a lower baseline because they
right,
may be non-verbal, may not be fully potty trained, all of those things, but not knowing what will work, that does apply for all parenting.
right,
So you
right,
don't know what major you should do, what school you should
right,
put them in, whether you should live in a city
right,
or whether you should
right.
move. So that's like, what I would say is that it's for the parents I often work with, they've spent years on speech and language therapy and ABA therapy and occupational therapy, and they'll say after 5 or 6 years, I see no difference in my child.
Right.
And they often haven't got the education to connect the fact that their child's chronic constipation is the reason why it's worsening all of their symptoms. So if
Right.
you can resolve that, you can see an improvement in their developmental
Right.
milestones.
And you know what a lot of parents like me also have to face at some point is various psych meds that uh, that may be needed to control the strong behavior. Some of these kids have some very strong behaviors, and schools won't take them.
And
So you need to control those behaviors so they could go to school or get on a bus safely or deal with the caregiver safely.
mm,
So those are all challenges, and I've talked to parents who categorically reject the idea of any medication. So that's
mm,
one. Parents like the organic and natural approach, and
yeah,
that's good for them. Others I know struggle with making their loved one take medication because
yeah,
either they refuse or what have you, or they don't take it consistently, and they have all the other problems in life, like you said, bipolar and anxiety, depression, and
yeah,
autism, and they're higher functioning too, so they're not low functioning. But s- and some folks just don't have a choice; they have to use meds to control the behavior, and those have their own side effects over time, and what
yeah,
have you.
true.
It's all a very difficult choice for parents. I can
Yeah,
tell you, and obviously you've made those choices. I've made those choices. Everyone
yeah,
listening is constantly struggling with what's the best thing to do for my kid. I don't know
yeah,
because you mentioned parental education. I always say kids don't come with a manual.
yeah,
Neurodivergent kids especially don't come with a manual. So all
yeah,
of us are making it up unless we're physicians or technical experts or clinicians of some sort. We wouldn't know what we're dealing with.
yeah.
Even then, you could be a general practitioner or a pediatrician and know nothing about autism.
I know.
It's a behavioral
I've
issue. In
got
fact,
many friends like that.
in fact, this is kind of a
Yeah,
challenge, at least in the American healthcare system. The
I'm British
pediatrician and the
around the world.
medical offices can sign off, check, check, check. Medically, there's nothing wrong with your kid. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no,
true.
I can't give you a pill. I can't operate on anything. Everything's it's behavioral. It's whether it's genetic slash environmental. There's nothing a pediatrician can do for your
Mm,
typically for your autistic kid. That's why they kind of that touch point that you mentioned early on, which has always been a difficult touch point, which is something I'm hoping to join other parents in trying to help pediatricians with, is that when you're giving a parent that news, when you're communicating, your suspect your child may be autistic. Here you take a little test in
yeah,
California, and then they give you off to a organization where ABA therapy is offered.
mm,
Um, that transition is very traumatic for a lot of parents,
mm,
moms, dads, because it is a shock. It is a
yeah,
shock to the system that, wait, what? My kid's autistic? Or you think is,
yeah,
and then you go through this period until they're officially diagnosed. Here it's between 3 to 5 years when they're officially
yeah.
diagnosed.
Here it's the same as well. No,
Yeah,
you mean 3 to 5 years of age?
right, right, right. Three to
Oh,
five years
here
of
it's
age.
it's a 3 to 5 year waiting list.
That too.
Mm,
That
yeah,
too. There is a
yeah,
ridiculous amount of
there is.
waiting time
Yeah,
to simply get officially diagnosed. And let me just say,
yeah,
when my son was diagnosed, I won't mention any names, but that PhD, talk about dismissing my son. She basically said, you can do therapy, you can do this, you can do this. It won't make any difference. He's going to be like this for the rest of his life. I
oh,
mean,
I hate that.
just
Yeah,
kind of dismissed me like I was like my son really, like don't even bother. He's always going to be like this. So we
yeah,
have some big problems in this country, I feel, and
yeah,
globally in simply being able to help parents in this transition with the loved ones with respect and dignity,
yeah,
in a way that they're on the right path so they can develop and be as much supportive of a unit for their loved one as possible, right?
yeah,
Ultimately, no matter what drug or what deficiency you may have, like going back to my our first conversation, um, you gotta you gotta support your loved one no matter what, and you need energy and a little support from the ecosystem around us, our
Yeah.
families, our friends, the schools, the
Yeah.
pediatricians, the health system, to be more understanding of
Yeah.
this process.
Yeah. And I think you're right about hope. I think when I got that news for my son, like he was around 2 years old when I first presented to the UK doctors. And again, very similar. I was like, oh, he's doing this, he's stimming, he is, he's not eating, he's hyperactive, he's, all of these symptoms I would say. And I just kept getting like, yes, he'll be like that forever.
Right.
And where the thing is, where I studied dentistry at dental school, I learned about how much the brain grows in the first 5 years. I thought they had written him off so easily and so quickly. Don't they know how much his brain is going to grow in the first 5 years and that these things could actually change? He doesn't have to have these behaviors for the rest of his life. But some I've like rationalized it as because in the UK we have a national health service, it's not private here.
Mhm.
And there's huge waiting lists. I rationalized it as like, okay, because they don't have the resources to help me, they don't have that available to them. They don't really want to help me, so they're trying to crush my hopes. So I don't if I knew if they told me, oh yes, you can do X, Y, Z, then I'd expect them to help me to do X, Y, Z. But they don't have capacity to help me do X, Y, Z, so they don't even bother to say it. They'll just
Right, right,
try and crush my hopes. So I've actually, but maybe in the US it's a bit different. You've got a private sector, but it seems like the same problems.
it, you know, I always tell people nobody knows your kid better than you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
After 18 years, I've given up trying to find some expert to tell me
yeah,
about my son. I'm the
yeah.
expert.
You're
You're
right.
the
I
expert.
agree. Yeah,
What even if you weren't a dentist, you didn't,
yeah,
no one spends more time with your loved one than you.
yeah. I
So,
agree.
to the extent that our job as parents is to help our kids be the best they can be,
Yeah,
whatever that is, that's we are the final decision in that. These experts around us, and like we can have 10, 20 hours speaking about
yeah,
all the experts that my son has proven wrong.
yeah.
That even though he's still nonverbal, his cognition and his growth and development has been defied all the expectations, all
That's
the
good.
benchmarks and
Yeah,
thresholds they put on him, saying, "Oh, it's too late for him to learn this. He's now 18. It's too late. He should have learned it when he was 10." Nope,
yeah,
blew past that. So I just want to end with like going back to really all of this. It's not about medicine or supplement. It's about hope.
yeah,
Don't give up on your kid. Continue to be the best you can be for
yeah,
your kid, and do whatever you can. You're doing what you can. I'm doing what I can. Every
yeah.
parent is doing
Absolutely,
what they can, but don't give
absolutely.
up. I think there is always hope as long as you keep after trying to help your loved one. So listen,
Yeah.
Taiba Bajar, thank you so much for your time. Tell me your website so people can know where to find you if they need to reach you.
Sure, it's www.autismbrainempowerment.com.
I
And
love it.
that's my name on social media too, Autism Brain Empowerment. So the idea of the name was to empower parents. So give the power back to parents because we're made to feel so unempowered.
Right.
So we align on that as well.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us. We'll be in
Thanks for
touch. If
having
I
me,
can
Gary.
help you in anything you're doing, you know how to reach me. Thank you so much for your
Sure.
time.
All right. Thank you.